So today I want to talk about my second ayahuasca experience. And if you haven't watched the first one, then I highly recommend that you check it out because it is foundational in pretty much everything that I do now. And the second one was almost as impactful, and in some areas more impactful, because I tell stories about my second ayahuasca experience to all of my students and many of the people that I help on a day-to-day basis. So let's go ahead and get started so we can pass on some of that wisdom. In that first ayahuasca experience, I was speaking to some unknown entity. I didn't know who it identified itself as, and it never volunteered that information. Afterwards, I spent many years trying to figure out who it might be. And as I continued to talk to the voice of universal knowledge, I often asked it who it was. But usually here's what it said: it doesn't matter. What matters is the information. What matters is the healing. And as I started to discover my gifts, I realized more and more that that voice was right. And that we spend a lot of our time and effort trying to figure out who said what. Why? I think it's because we like to put things in boxes. We like to feel safe and comfortable. These are three-dimensional yearnings and needs. And when we come to a higher vibrational, higher dimensional kind of experience, we don't actually need to know those sorts of details. Those details actually just kind of get in the way of the information or the healing. Also, if you remember in that first ayahuasca experience, I was given a very low dose. So if I was going to do it again, I wanted to make sure that I gave myself a humongous dose. I wanted to make sure it was a heroic dose because I knew that it had so much to teach me. So that's exactly what I did. I didn't go to a shaman. I didn't go to Peru. I went ahead and did it and administered it myself. The first time it was administered by, like I said, an amateur who didn't necessarily know the rituals. He didn't even know it was called ayahuasca, or at least he never mentioned it during that time. So I felt very safe and comfortable in being able to do this for myself. Now that I know more, generally this isn't the best practice because your vibration should be extremely high when you go into one of these experiences. Because I work with the Hathors, which is an extra-dimensional collective similar to the Arcturians or the Pleiadians, they were going to make sure that my experience was awesome, was top-notch, and I didn't have to worry about my vibration so much. So it just worked out that it was okay for me to do this completely by myself. Now you definitely want to go with a shaman or a very high vibrational being so that if you're just in their presence, you receive that energy. So I go ahead and I decide how much to dose myself. And it's a lot. It's a lot more than what I had before by many orders of magnitude. And I wanted to make absolutely sure that I had a full-on experience. And the other kind of interesting aspect of this is I decided to do it at Burning Man, which is not necessarily the greatest place to do something so sacred and so beautiful. But to me, it seemed the perfect place because it was a complete transformation kind of experience. It was the first time I'd ever been to Burning Man, so I actually didn't know what to expect. And I brought the ingredients with me because I knew that this was going to be the place that I would do it. And I did it with a friend of mine who had come along. I had flown to his place and we had driven from San Francisco to go to Burning Man together. And we were going to be in the same yurt during the full week. And he was game for participation. By Friday night of the full week, we had decided that that was going to be our night. That was the night before the burn. And we said, all right, we're going to start this pretty late and we're going to go through the night and have this experience. Ayahuasca is not like any other psychedelic. You don't walk around and experience life while you're on ayahuasca. With mushrooms, with peyote, with even LSD, these are more interactive sorts of plant medicines. But in this case, you just lay down and close your eyes and you have your own experience. And usually you want it to be silent, or at least just a little bit of music playing, and dark. So we did the dark part right, we did it at night. But it certainly wasn't silence. There was music and blaring and craziness going on all around. But it was totally fine, it was part of our experience. So when it began, I sat back, I closed my eyes, and I could see text. I was reading text. And the first piece of text that came across my screen was, "I love you as much as you love you." This was extremely reassuring because I didn't know what to expect on this one. I was a little bit nervous, not crazy nervous, because I knew that I was going to be taken care of. But still, that really put me at ease. But then what started happening is that there was more text. And so there was another sentence, and it was coming toward me and then going past my eyes. And then another one, and then another. And pretty soon my screen, with my eyes closed, was filled with text. And there was no way for me to read it all. I really wanted to, and I felt like there was such great information in every one of those sentences. But I realized the trick: to allow, to let things just pass you by, to not panic over, oh, I can't read this and I can't read that. I will read the ones that I'm supposed to read, and to trust in that process. This was pretty big because I still wasn't a big student of spirituality, enlightenment and all that. So that kind of concept didn't come as readily as it might to you watching this right now. So it was great for me to have that experience. And then fairly early on, there was a being that I got to see. And this being was this beautiful female form, but she was all light. And she was almost like sitting on a throne. And at this point I said, because I was so curious who that voice had been this entire time, I was very quick to say, "Who are you?" And she immediately said that her name was Aya. And I don't know why I didn't put this together, but I did not assemble Aya and ayahuasca in my head. I was just like, oh, that's a cool name. This lady's name's Aya. Huh. So I have to step back, because the other thing that you want to do when you do plant medicines is you want to have an intention when you go into it. I actually have the same thing with anything that you do. You can set an intention before you take a class or before you go on a vacation. But it's really imperative to set it before you do a plant medicine experience. So during the day leading up to that evening, I was walking around Burning Man and thinking about things that I would like to be able to change about myself. There were aspects of myself I knew I needed some growth in. And so throughout the day I was like, oh, that thing, I don't really like that about myself. Or, oh, that thing, oh, I could really get better at that. By the end of the day, I'm sure I had 10 or 12 things. And I actually remembered what they were for the most part up until the experience. So here we go, back to, I'm looking at this beautiful being of light. Her name is Aya. And she says, so are you ready to work on your list? And I'm like, oh my gosh, my list, my 10 or 12 item list. Yeah, let's do. Oh no, and I realized I didn't remember a single thing. I had no memory of any of the items on my list. And so I said that to her. It's like, oh no, I don't remember. And she said, don't worry, I remember. And then we started moving through them. And I knew immediately that she was going in order. She was going in order of the items at the beginning of the day. Oh, there's this one. Oh, there's that one. Oh, right, I remember that. I remember where I was. It was all amazing to me that she remembered and I couldn't. So we started working. And she gave me tests. She gave me challenges that I had to figure out. I had to make good decisions. I had to not have anxiety. I had to be in a relaxed state. I had to allow the information to come through. So many different tests and quizzes. And I would get little rewards. Like she would give me, almost like from a video game, an award screen. Dun, 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 up to level 2. Dun, 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 level 3, achieved. And it just kept going like this. Then right in the middle of it all, we're having these great dialogues. She's very with me, very accessible. All of a sudden she got quiet. And I was still talking and she didn't respond. I was like, hey, what's going on? What's next? Nothing, silence. Then all of a sudden, in my vision, and on my screen, is presented like a lineup of demons. And these demons were coming toward me. Slowly coming toward me. And I'm looking at them going, uh-oh, I've heard about bad stuff. And I said, oh man, why do we got to do demons? I'm trying to joke because, my relationship with Aya up till this point was very friendly and fun. And and mutually, well, I don't know if it was mutually beneficial. It was certainly beneficial for me. And so I tried to break the ice. I tried to make a joke out of it. She didn't say a word. The demons kept getting closer and getting closer and getting closer. And I finally went, well, you know what? If you think that demons are exactly what I need in order to grow in the way that you need me to grow, then bring them on. I'm ready. And as soon as I said that, whoosh, they were wiped away. I didn't have to worry about demons anymore. And she was back. And she was, dun 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 dun, level 4 reached. All I had to do was accept that she had my best interest in mind. I did not have to try so hard. I didn't have to get things to go the way I wanted them to go. I did not have to steer this experience. As a matter of fact, I wasn't supposed to. And if I did, I could muck up the whole thing. Because the Spirit of Ayahuasca knows way better than I could ever know about what I need in order to grow. I think I just need pleasure and happiness and ease and all that. But she knows that you need much, much more. That you need challenges, and you need possibilities, and you need difficulties, and you need struggle in order to actually get where you want to go. So, I learned all of that in that quick moment. And then she went ahead and she said, hey, would you like to be a shaman? I would like to teach you how to be a shaman, because in your past lives, you have been a shaman of this medicine. And she said, this is your medicine. Everybody has different medicines that work really well for them, but yours is specifically ayahuasca, which is why you're so sensitive to it. I'm like, oh, okay, it's all like making sense. And she said, so if you would like, I would like to teach you how to be a shaman. And I realized, and she kind of told me that's essentially what I had been doing at that point, because of course I had not only administered it to myself, but I had administered it to my friend who was in the same yurt and was experiencing it right then. So she proceeded to teach me how to be an ayahuasca shaman. She didn't teach me the rituals. She didn't teach me the fire that you have to have in a certain place and the timing of everything and how to play music and all that stuff that shamans do. She taught me how to help people who were nervous, who were scared, who were having difficulties. And she did this by teaching me how to handle no matter what situation might come up. Specifically for if it were happening to me. Then I could easily help others that might be experiencing something similar. This ayahuasca experience was considerably longer than the first one. As I said, I gave myself quite the dose. I wanted to make absolutely sure that I had a full-on experience, and I definitely did. So much so that it even lasted into the next day to some degree. And that wasn't easy. But it was all part of the experience, and just like any psychedelic or going to Burning Man itself, it is fun, but it's also very challenging. You have to get through difficult trials and tests, and if you can, then you come out ahead. And if you can't, you still come out ahead. That's the beauty of plant medicines, that yes, it feels like that you have to do it right, but actually all you have to do is sit back and have the experience, and she will make sure that you do it right, that you have the growth that you're supposed to get. But if you try to take over, if you try to steer it, no, I don't want this, no, I don't want that, don't give me this over here, I'm not ready for that, that's not going to go very well, because that's actually then going to be the targeted area that you work on, because she's going to say, oh, you don't want this? Well, that means there's a problem there that we need to work on. And she's going to take you there, exactly to that spot. But she's going to do it in a nurturing way. It may not be what you really want to face, but actually she does it in a way that you can face it in a beautiful and successful way. The appearance of the Spirit of Ayahuasca was super interesting to me as well, because as this being of light, this beautiful being of light, I realized that on the cover of my comic book, Righteous, there was, of course, a being of light, and as the main catalyst for the main character's transformation. And it was very important during the creation of that cover that this character look exactly right. Of course, it's a male character as opposed to a female, but still, so much of what I saw from the Spirit of Ayahuasca, I had already represented as the cover of Righteous. So if you'd like to see more information about that, I'll leave a link in the description below. After this was all done, I told a friend of mine about how the Spirit of Ayahuasca had asked me if I wanted to be a shaman. And she was a little bit surprised and taken aback because she said, well, the shamans in Peru can take ayahuasca every week, sometimes for 30 years, before the Spirit of Ayahuasca finally grants them the ability to do ceremony for people. And you got it on your second time is pretty much unheard of. And I think that it just goes to show that my relationship with the Spirit of Ayahuasca is very much tied into my experience as a human being that has incarnated many times here on this planet. As many of you know, being a shaman for ayahuasca is not what I do. I am a healer, and I do a lot of work with the Hathors, like I mentioned earlier. The Hathors also appear as beings of light in the book described by Tom Kenyon. So there's a lot of synchronicity going on there. But my main purpose is to help society, is to help as many people as possible. And currently I do that through my comic book Righteous, because it's a catalyst for awakening for the masses, through the negative entity attachment removal program that is called Detached, to help people that are just in the earlier stages of their awakening to the midpoint, when they're almost there, but they've just got to get over this last little hump. It really takes them the rest of the way. And the Higher Self Expo, which is an online metaphysical conference where I'm bringing in speakers from all over the world to help people really ascend at another level, higher and higher and higher. This is what I do. This is what my focus is. This is what my purpose is. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you learned a little bit more about ayahuasca and life, because everything that you experience in this life, if you look at it as random and you as a victim and why did this happen to me and how am I ever going to handle this? If you look at it as though it were all planned out for you, like the Spirit of Ayahuasca planned it all out for me, and knowing that by facing the challenges, by dealing with those discomforts that I didn't really want to deal with, then all of a sudden, all kinds of unlimited growth becomes possible. And that is one of the many foundations upon which I teach all my programs, all my classes, and everybody that really I can possibly teach. It's just too important. It's just what I'm here for. So thank you again for watching. If you would like, you can download an activation off of my website. I highly recommend it. Very powerful. Help you get over this nervousness feeling that you might have before you're about to do something important. You can download that with a link in the description below. So thank you again so much for watching this video. I am here in Ashland, Oregon, enjoying what obviously is wine country. It's absolutely beautiful here. And I look forward to returning to San Francisco very soon and continuing on my journey east across the U.S. So thanks again. I love you unconditionally, and I'll see you in the next video.